Hey up everyone, how is it going? Happy Thursday. My name is Gavin Strange. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's lovely seeing people chatting away in the chat. Hopefully this is a nice, fun, enjoyable lunchtime thing, or maybe not lunchtime. I know Matthew is tuning in from Toronto. Big ups the FITC crew. So it's lovely to see people from all over the world. Thank you very, very, very much for tuning in. How's everyone's Thursday going? Mine is going pretty good, working on some graphic designy bits for Audible stuff that I'm doing today. Hopefully you're all having a happy, productive day, having a happy, productive week, as much as you can in these crazy bonkers times. Today, I want to dive into the making of one of my favourite creative projects. Let's jump over. So this is, I'm going to be diving into the making of the FITC titles that I had the pleasure of designing, directing and animating for the 2018 edition of the Amsterdam located FITC festival. If you haven't been to an FITC before, they are an experience. Me and Mr. Signal Noise, James White, talk about FITC an awful lot. These are these two really important, really exciting. Oh, straight away we've got a follower. Thank you, Sam Perk 097. Big ups yourself. Thank you for following. So straight away, you know, FITC is just got a long legacy, a long history of just inspiring people and making, you know, putting on great events all over the world, different locations. Toronto, Canada is one of them that I've had the fortune of speaking of. And then this one in Amsterdam that I've also had the fortune of speaking of. And it was the very first FITC I ever spoke at in Amsterdam many, many moons ago. And, you know, Amsterdam is just a great city. There's just so much going on. There's just such a cool creative community, you know, central hub of Europe, which is awesome. And Amsterdam's just always had the best vibe. It's just, yeah, the city is awesome, and the venues in particular have always been awesome. The first one I went to was in this beautiful, gorgeous building on the edge of the canal, on the edge of the single canal, which was awesome. And then most recently, it's been a place called the Pakhuis des Viga. I'm obviously not saying that right because I don't speak any Dutch. I'm a terrible English person. But it's this incredible venue that features a very, very unique screen setup that we will get into with this. So it was a massive honour when Sean, who's the creator and director of FITC, which, side note, FITC used to stand for Flash in the Can. So it started its life out as a flash, as a gathering of people who used Macromedia Flash back in the day, back in the 2000s. And like so many sort of creative festivals, you know, it's found its community from those people that had their beginnings there. But over time, it's just morphed into a creative hub of all sorts of people, from HTML coders to filmmakers to painters to robotics engineers to, you know, there's all sorts of people come through. And that's, oh, windy pops, excuse me, I had a big bag of crisps before I started this. That was a mistake. Oh dear. What was I saying before I did little windy pops? Can't remember. Yes, the collaboration, the diverse nature of everyone speaking at these places is always awesome. It's always really, really cool to see and hear and be a part of. So to be asked to do the title sequence was just a dream. And it was a really open brief. It was, you know, you have to, of course, include the names of everyone that's going to speak at the festival. But as for the idea, it's totally up to the creator, you know, in collaboration with Sean and the FITC team. So I was free to. Oh, so Ask MP, who is Matthew, one of the FITC team, says it's also known as Flash in Toronto, Canada, Flash in the Can, from innovation to creativity, which is now, that's what it now stands for, or FIT, think creative, or from innovation to creativity. I like that. I like that. Nice. Facts. We're learning. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so it was a real honour. But I think it's important to play the film first, and then you can get a bit of an idea as to what I'm going to be talking about. So let's watch the film first and we'll go from there, shall we? there we go. So that's the titles. That's them themselves. Thanks so much for the kind words about the title sequence. It remains one of my favourite creative projects, and I think that's because of the where it happened. You know, I'm a big fan of FITC, the location that we'll talk about as to how it was presented, and just it was a real sort of exploration of everything that I love. And so the concept for the idea is a bit of a mishmash of everything, and it started with this sketch really, because one of the beauties is when you do the titles, you also get to design what the branding for the festival will look like that year, and actually sort of you do the creative first, you sort of do the designs first, and then that expands into the title. So that's also cool, you know, as a designer you get to apply that to everything. And you know, the lanyards were customized like that, the holding slides were customized like that, the schedules were customized with this design. So it was great to sort of see that rolled out. But yeah, it started with this sketch, and the things behind it was a bit of a mix of everything. I love the sort of folklore of RPG video games, so things like Zelda, Final Fantasy, you know, the quest for these sacred awesome objects, things that people collect, these things that have power, also the connection of these powers when people control them, and you know, sort of how powerful you become as an individual once you assess and obtain these things. But also, you know, I love anime and manga and the action and the energy of those things. And so the idea was really, you know, if you go to these festivals, and if you go to FITC in particular, you know, my sort of thinking was, you know, if each of those speakers that spoke actually had a physical item that represented them, you know, so the flaming arrow of aspiration, or you know, the cloak, the multidisciplinary cloak, you know, these people are all experts in their field, and they sort of have this magical object, and if you go and see them, if you go and attend that talk, then you can obtain that magical object, you know. And actually, if you go and spend your entire time at the festival, you know, you can obtain all of these mythical items until it basically makes you the ultimate creative, because you have taken, you know, you again, that's, you know, going into the RPG side of things, you know, you've collected all of these things, you've grinded, you've put in the hours to get these objects. And I kind of wanted to do that. I wanted to you know, give people these cool, fun, magical objects and trinkets and things. Ask MP asks in the chat, what's your magical item? I can't remember what section I put myself in. Oh my god, what the ring of something? I can't remember. I have to watch it again. I think I put myself in the category of maybe multidisciplinary stuff, I think, or energy, sort of trying to have as much energy and positivity as possible. I think it might have been the ring of positivity. Yeah. But that was super fun, just raiding the archives of you know, yeah, just all the stuff I love, and just looking at, okay, there's hammers and there's swords and there's amulets and there's gauntlets and there's stones and there's books, you know. And so I basically sort of, the start of the film was a setup of it's using this magic book, and in this magical tomb lies all of the information that dictates all of these different elements that you can connect. So it was really, really cool to just plunder all of this stuff and kind of go deep. And because the creative brief was so free reigning, I could use hot pink, which I'm very, very happy about. So I used that a lot on this project. And just catching up on the chat here. Oh, that's so kind of you guys that you really, really like it. Thank you. That really means a lot. And Reviver Knight says, never listened to this with headphones before. The sound is amazing. Yes, Thomas Williams, a beautiful and incredible human being who's an amazing sound designer, musician here in Bristol. I collaborated with him on this, and he absolutely smashed him out of the park. It was sort of meant to feel like a 80s, 90s cartoon, you know, really over the top, but also kind of positive and uplifting and modern, and you know, just it's kind of got all of those vibes, kind of like a, you know, when you reach a boss level fight in a video game as well. So it's this mix of RPG, video games, comics, and sort of folklore, that kind of stuff basically. So that was the origins. And it began with the sword. I knew that because these elements were going to be used in the festival, and Tour de Phrase's question is, did these elements get used further than the festival? Feels like they have so much more potential to be used. No, I think they just existed for the duration of the festival, actually. That being said, I would love to make an actual sword. Or all of these elements, maybe I should. Maybe I should do a range of toys. Maybe I should do a range of toys that is all of these different objects for people to collect. Oh, that's a great idea. Nice one, Tour de Phrase. Welcome to That Seeker in the chat. Oh, how are you, Dave? Thank you for tuning in. So we're just talking about the main graphic, which I knew I wanted to be the sword, and I knew I kind of wanted a device of like a banner wrap around these things. I felt like that was a good way to show text, because this is one thing making the title sequence, but I wanted to make a title sequence that celebrates the names, not just some beautiful visuals and then text on the side. It's like I wanted to integrate it as much as possible. But that does slow things down a little bit, because obviously you need time for people to read them. So that is always a consideration with a title sequence. It has to adhere to those rules. It's a great rule to have to work with and quantify. But it's kind of interesting seeing adhering to that. So this is where I started with the swords, and I was just playing with styles. Should I use outlines? Should I use flat colors? Should I use thick strokes? Should I use thin strokes? Should I use outlines? How much gloss should I use? I knew that I really wanted to sort of take some of my favorite things that I loved about anime and manga, particularly the glints and the highlights and the shing, all of that energy. I really like how all of that comes together, and it just kind of gives it a something. Everything's flat. All the colors are flat. We've kind of looking at sort of two color toning to give a bit of shadow, a bit of definition, but then I knew I wanted these white ping graphics to go over the top of it. And I was just playing and experimenting. This is often how I do a lot of my experimentation. Just keep a big artboard in Illustrator and just keep duplicating and dragging and moving around. Aaron RP, thank you so much for subscribing. That is very, very kind of you. Thank you, you kind, wonderful human. Lovely. So I just, especially playing with typography as well, I kind of wanted something that was a bit RPG-esque, and that is why at the bottom you see Aaron Draplin. I'm kind of using that classic RPG trope of the blue rounded off box with the dialogue, and I was tempted to sort of do a whole RPG conversational piece with the sort of different characters saying different things, but it would have been too much to read, I think. And also I think it was Giant Ant did the FITC titles in Toronto a few years before, and they did an awesome sort of video game-esque multi-style sequence. It was just mind-blowingly brilliant, and I thought I'm not even going to try and get close to that because they absolutely smashed it. So I sort of stayed away from that. But yeah, I was trying different typography, and I kind of wanted it to be old and new, a little, it's sort of somewhere in the middle. So I ended up using, I think that is Archer Bold or Archer Black, I think. And then I just use Illustrator to round off the corners, just give it a bit of softness. Ask MP says, yes, it was the video game one for the years. Side note, if you don't follow Giant Ant, please correct that. They are an incredible animation studio who make just mind-blowing things, and their animation and all their work is incredible. So I was just experimenting and playing and sort of just having a look at how complex or detailed things should be, and trying to keep with a limited color palette, because I knew that this was a passion project. I was doing this in my own time in the early hours and the late nights. It also had to be achievable. I'm also a fan of using a limited color palette to sort of tie everything together, but also it's an accessible one. It's all well and good being so ambitious, but if you never finish it, well, that's not going to be very good, is it? Sorry, Sean, I didn't finish a title sequence because I chose too many colours, or chose too many, something was too ambitious. So there was an aspect of that, trying to keep it together as well. And thinking about it, again, as a graphic design piece, and seeing how far it would be applied to. It needs to work in motion, but it also needs to work as a poster, it needs to be readable, all of that good stuff. So it was really fun just sort of learning and experimenting, and then just having a go at looking at the classic manga lines and pieces, and discovering how I could sort of bring it to life, really. And that was just watching and analyzing things like this, just looking at how proper sort of manga anime stuff happens, and it is so complicated. And it's complicated because all of this is done by hand. That's how you get this beautiful fluidity to it. But I'm not a frame by frame sort of cell drawn animator. I just can't. So I kind of wanted to replicate that energy, but in my own style. And so that's how I came to doing this here that you see on the left, where I basically just used, you see it lots more, I just used sort of basic shapes and then used the round off curve tool in Illustrator to sort of give things a fluidity and taper. So I would just overlay all of these different intersecting shapes, use Pathfinder to merge it together, and then curve off the lines to try and get an organic look, but within a sort of a geometric graphic style, within, again, something that I knew could be achievable. Oh, Aaron says it's probably my favourite piece of your work, your favourite piece of my work, but I'm probably a bit biased towards it. Thank you so much. It really means a lot that you lovely lot enjoyed it. It was just, I think I just really loved the project. It was a real joy to be able to do. One orange koala, Chloe, asks, do you know how many colours you used overall? I think, hang on, I can tell you. Oh, no, gone too far. Hang on, go on. I think I went for, there would have been a white, a neon blue, a dark blue, a hot pink, a purple, a cream. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only about 6, I reckon. Yeah, I think I was quite strict with myself. Again, just achievability, as well as sort of, I like, it's got a coherence to it. I think that's the thing. I wanted it to be coherent. So I sort of quite developed it quite early on. And also just, I wanted it to be bright and punchy and celebratory, These conferences, FITC has got such an energy behind it. People are sharing their awesome work. I kind of want people to be psyched and hyped, when they go into the conference for the first time and they see this hot neon pink thing around the screens that I'll show you in a little bit. I wanted them to feel something, to have a good energy behind it. Side note, David Carson was the keynote speaker, the legend, the god, David Carson, and he was the very last speaker. And because this had the hot pink graphics around it all the time, so when a speaker wasn't speaking, there was sort of these holding graphics that were the pink pieces of design. David asked, can we change that and make it a little more monochromatic, please? It's not, hot neon pink is not really David Carson's vibe. So really quickly, I grabbed my computer and I made a special black and grey version for him. He's the GOAT. David Carson is the god. So only Carson can have that. I was like, that's fair enough. That's a fair enough request. So this was the manga stuff. And then this was, a further development of things that are really, this is relatively modern, but, that Dragon Ball Z inspired anime energy. And I think this is one artist, I can't remember this artist's name, but they, sort of inspired by the Super Saiyan stuff of Dragon Ball Z. This was all done by hand. He picked lots of NBA sporting moments and just had these mad effects, but I love them. I love how mad this is. It is so full of energy. Especially the one top left, where the sort of the charge up and the slow motion. That's great. I think I just love that. But because I've never been able to do it, again, I'm not a traditional cell drawn animator. I just felt like I could never do it. So this sequence was sort of my way of trying to do that. But at the same time, I couldn't go so insane like these things that it would become unreadable, because you still have to read text. You still need to read the names of the people. So it was sort of like, this was a big driver for me to get this right. But I could just watch this on a loop forever. There's so much going on there. Just the bits of debris, the energy trails, the sort of spot. I sort of ended up just ripping GIFs off of YouTube, and then frame by frame advancing through them to just analyze what was happening. And more often than not, these things, you can't really replicate this unless you can do it by hand. There's lots of After Effects tutorials, but they're just not as close, or you can get them, but you have to do it really quickly. There can be pops and pings, but you know, there's a reason why all of this stuff feels so fluid, and it's so hard to do, because it's just, you know, it's obviously it's replicating flames and energy bursts, and those things are organic and natural and need to be constantly moving and undulating and all of that stuff. So that is, you know, it's such a great technique. I love it. I could watch whole basketball matches if this was how it looked. It's dope. So this was how the campaign ended looking. This was the first thing that got finished, and it was the creative for the festival. These were the posters and the promo items that existed, and they were hang as big banners outside the venue in Amsterdam. They were on for the front of the booklet. So it was really cool to see, to make this as well. You know, I often, if I'm making film stuff, I really geek out at the end of a film, making lots of hero images and shareable images and square images and 9:16 and 16:9 images. I just think it's smart to really, you know, if you can help make your work go far and basically give it to people in a way that makes it easily shareable, then do it. You know, spend an extra day or two at the end of a project and make a bunch of assets. I always have a deliverables folder for everything that I make that has all of these different things, and it's fun because sometimes you go, oh, actually, if I make a square version, you find it's changing your framing, it's changing your composition. Sometimes it can be tricky, because you're like, oh, I made it 69, and it's really hard because I don't want to lose any information. But it's kind of, you know, if you give yourself the time and energy to make those extra bits, then, you know, especially if you're working in a bigger company or you're doing things for other people, you just get, you know, if you make more shareable assets, there is a higher chance it will get shared, you know, and you know, if you're making something that you're proud of, then absolutely, you know, you just got to go for it and make it. You know, it doesn't take that much extra. So these were the square and the poster that features all the different elements. I think they have every single element on. Yeah, there's the hammer, the potion, the ring, the crown, the arrow, the book, the axe, the goblet, the amulet, the shield, the talisman, the dagger, the key, the sword. Yeah, that was it. There was all of those different ones. So I sort of made sure that you know, when you don't know what the sequence is, you know, people saw this before they saw the film, before they walked into the theatre to see what was happening. I wanted them to just go, okay, this is fun. It's an RPG thingy, you know, and just to see something that they like. So that was the graphic design application. But what made this really special is this. The resolution of the setup that this film will be projected on is 9,216 by 768. It is crazy wide. And that is because there are 9 1024 by 768 connected screens that make up this whole thing. And it was just an experience. So you sit in this box of a room, and you just feel all encompassed by these screens that they're all interconnected. So when you speak, you can speak and show your slideshows across the front 3, which is epic alone. But because of the way it's set up, it's really difficult to use all 9 unless you're doing the titles, because it's a one-off event. It was bonkers. It was bonkers, and that was a big attraction to it. So when I think Sean says, oh, you know, let's work together and do the titles, and I think he gave me the choice of Toronto or Amsterdam, and I love speaking at Toronto. It's a big huge event, great city, but 9 screens. Why would you not want to use 9 screens? You know, just if there's always a unique way to do things, then absolutely do it. So it was really fun to have that challenge. So this is a little loop of how some certain sections looked when it was being filmed, and I always had to work with this in mind, and I'll show you the After Effects screenshot in a minute. But basically, had to always assume that people will be looking straight ahead, even though you can sit on curved seating. Always had to assume that the middle 3 are where people will be looking, and even then there are black gaps between the projections of the screens. So I always kept the main names in the first 3 main screens, just to make it readable. I didn't want people craning their necks. I still need people to read what's going on and experience it properly. And then I use the side bits often as a way to bring a new transition in. You know, it was a great thing to go all the way around or go up or go down, sort of trying to keep that in mind. And the arrow is one of my favorites. It sort of zooms in the middle one and then zooms out on the edge. So hopefully you feel, yeah, as Tour de France says, it's immersive. Yeah, I really wanted something to feel immersive, and to you know, for that 3 minutes, the opening thing that you find in the festival, you're like, what's happening? You're just being assaulted by pink. I think that was always my goal. And you know, going back to the sound from Thomas Williams, the sound system in this venue is banging. It's really loud, it's really punchy, and then when you dip all the lights like this and you've just got the bass of the thing, it's awesome. I wish I could go back and experience it again. This was filmed when we were I got in early before the venue opened for us to test it, to make sure it worked, because that's one thing, you know, is the file going to play correctly, and also just to film it for like this. And just, I made sure I was sort of, I think I set up the camera and I sat dead center, I could get the full experience. And as Matt says, Ask MP, 3D sound, yeah, they've got speakers installed in this whole thing. It just makes it cool. It just makes it special, really. Oh, Ask MP says, even the on-site AV team loved this and were impressed. Massive shout out to the AV team, because, you know, this is such a unique setup. I've never presented on anything like this, and they were always so happy and positive to help you to make your presentation look the best. Because I geek out on stuff like this and I find it real thrill, but some people were like, oh, hang on, what? How am I going to, you know, people have presentations built, so to then change it to make it a crazy resolution can be tough. But I think then when you see it, you go, oh yeah, I want to do it. I really, really want to do it. You know, it's always fun to be pushed. And so big shout out to the AV team for making it happen.
You're wasting time. You're wasting time. Breaking contact. 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 You're wasting time.
Breaking contact. You're wasting time. You're wasting time. Breaking contact. You're wasting time.
You're wasting time. Breaking contact. You're wasting time. 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 Breaking contact. You're wasting time. You're wasting time. Breaking contact. You're wasting time. You're wasting time. Breaking contact. You're wasting time. You're wasting time. You're wasting time. wasting time. Time. You're wasting time. Breaking contact. You're Looks like you're not up. You're wasting time. Get over there. Breaking contact. You're wasting time. Get. You're wasting time. Breaking contact.
Silly boy and his silly toy. Thanks as always for the indulgence. You guys are amazing. So this was how my After Effects file started looking. It was bonkers, and it was kind of bonkers to try and just hope and guess that it would look right. You know, that's a full width, and so I would drag it across. You can't see here, but I've got 3 interconnected screens that are quite wide there, that are ultra wide. So I sort of had a good idea with how it would be looking, but it was you know, it was just always a hope and a dream that this would also look great on the big screen, on the 9 screens as well. So yeah, it was kind of bonkers you would always have to zoom into this all the time to check what it would look like. But I want to talk about some of my animation inspirations really, and it's a bit of a funny selection. The first is Hey Dougie, the awesome CBeebies cartoon that is just the sweetest thing. If you've got kids, even if you don't have kids, just go and watch it. It's so sweet, it's so funny, and it's got loads and loads of great adult gags in it as well. They put lots of little references in there. Like one of the every episode, the parents of the animal kids get driven to the treehouse, and in one episode, the future episode, one of them is driving a motorbike, and the motorbike is the Akira motorbike. So it's like, if you put an Akira reference in there, I am sold. I am absolutely sold. That Seika in the chat says, this would have been a perfect excuse to buy yourself a 9-screen setup. You're right, Dave. Why didn't I think of that? Oh, that should have been, it's for work, it's for business. Yeah, I totally should have done that, shouldn't I? So that's Hey Dougie, and what I love about Hey Dougie is the animation is beautiful, it's all flat colours, but it does a lot of frame smearing, it does a lot of, squash and stretch, and just the animation, it holds such energy that I really wanted to sort of, just take inspiration from that. I love it, I love the energy that it has, again, sort of just to, make people feel something, and just have a squash and stretching. Aaron RP says, I love the animation in The Adventures of Gumball. It's a great one for kids and adults. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Adventures of Gumball is amazing. Totally bonkers and brilliant for kids and adults. Yeah, Adventures of Gumball is fantastic. Really, really fantastic. And Ask MP Matt in the chat says, it was 9 4x3 screens, so not the best reason. Yeah, there'd be great 9 screens, but 9 4x3. What would I do with 4x3 afterwards as well? And end up having to get something else. So that was Hey Dougie. Thundercats was a big thing for me. Just again, the energy, and looking at the original cartoon again, it's kind of bonkers. But I went frame by frame with this as well. Especially all of those glints and the animation of the sword. And how things glint and move. Yeah, it was kind of a real Western take on an Eastern visual style, wasn't it? That anime manga thing, and just the sort of mad transitions and the camera work was just, actually looking at it now, this was really complex and cool and ahead of its time. It's just great. So yeah, so Thundercats was a big thing, and it's got a big sword in the middle, so that was obviously a massive inspiration. And then lastly, a real big inspiration for me was the work of Guy Ritchie, in particular the slow motion work of Guy Ritchie. He, when interviewed about his work, he talks about sort of wind up and release, about sort of the elastic energy of slow motion. So he does a lot of sort of quick cut things that are like quick, slow, and then ramp out of it. So that constant sort of that stretch, the elasticity of time. And there's a sequence in Sherlock Holmes 2. I love both of those movies, they're great. But it is all a use of slow motion, ramp in, ramp out, high speed cameras, and then all of this beautiful stuff. So let's jump across and watch that, shall we? Oh.
Zu viele Füchse für euch paar Hühner.
I mean, that is a bonkers sequence, right? That is, yeah, I love it. And I think what I love about that particularly is the sound design. The sound design on that is absolutely fantastic. And that is a big part of that. And Tour de France in the chat says, Edgar Wright played with speed with hand cranking the camera in Hot Fuzz. Yeah, I love the hand cranking approach. You just sort of see the slight imperfections of when things slow down and then speed up. And I think also what I love is then when it went into real time in that clip there, is it's still filming at a high shutter angle, so you get those extra, even when they're running in normal time, nothing slowed down, you see more detail, there's less motion blur because it's running at I presume it's the shutter angle that has changed to get more detail when it goes to slow-mo. But I like that. So when it does then go into slow-mo and then ramps out, it's just got that energy, particular with when he talks about the little Hansel, the big rocket explodey thing. Yeah, that's great. The use of sound design of sort of slow motion clip, cut to slow motion clip, and then ramp out. Yeah, so that ramping I really wanted to do in my sort of style in 2D After Effects motion graphics, so that was a real reference. And that Seeker says he always loves Edgar Wright's gearing up scenes. Yeah, he's great at that. Again, energy and fun, and you know, it just sort of carries you through the scene, which is always awesome. So this is a little bit of how I would set up my Illustrator file. I would have the master resolution of 9216 by 768 on my artboard, and then I had these guides here just so I could know exactly what I was doing and looking at, and trying not to lose too much on the lines, because that would actually be a big physical gap when we're on screen. So I tried wherever I could to just to take that into account, and I always just basically just duplicate every artboard just as I'm doing different designs, different iterations. I sort of put the different stages, the different keyframes. So particularly this, and actually the axe is probably my favorite shot in our film, is when the axe spins, it goes and then it goes and then it catches up and smashes into the wall. You know, when it catches up, I think there's only 3 frames. It just goes from the middle to the edge of frame, and then adding screen shake. I added screen shake loads into this. And how I do screen shake in After Effects, I always just think it gives you energy whenever you have an impact. But you know, whatever your master composition is, I will then always right at the end then make that your master composition in another composition, and in that final shake one, I basically, whenever I see an impact point, I just do some keyframes and I basically manually shift the pixels, you know, up, down, left, right, just a little bit, just to give it that extra weight. And I think that's it. You know, that's why Guy Ritchie's great at this, Edgar Wright is great at this. It's weight. You know, in animation, things need weight. You know, you don't want things feeling floaty unless they are intentionally floaty. So I was always sort of aware of that, and you know, learning from the things that I would love. And you know, things just got more and more intricate, basically trying to make each different frame unique. So this one was the meticulous dagger, and you know, these people are very precise and very neat, and a very you know, everything they do is very detailed, and it's all about the details. And so I have just off the top of my artboard here, I have all my color swatches that I just color pick from. I have my type that I type pick from as well, and then I bring in the names of the people as I'm working on it as well, so I just don't forget. You know, I had a master list that I would check off as to make sure I'm not missing out a speaker, because that would be the worst thing ever for a title sequence. Also, what's awful is when you finish the film and then speakers drop out and get swapped. I don't think that happened for this at all, actually, but it did happen for the off titles that me and Merlin Crossingham did. So, that's always an inevitability. You have to deal with that. Reviver Knight in the chat says the wiggle position effect is great for camera shake. You can easily control the strength of it. Yeah, that is a good one, actually. I don't know why I do it by hand. I think I just out of habit, because it's not that difficult. But the wiggle expression as well, using the After Effects expressions is really useful. I do expression a lot. And also another trick, if you want a sort of a lower frame rate effect, I never animate in lower frame rates. I just basically do normally 25 frames a second and then drop a posterized time effect in After Effects and drop it down to 12 or sometimes 6, if you kind of want the kind of clunky effect. I just find it easier to, you've got flexibility then. If you animate at 25 frames a second or 60 or 50 or whatever it is you want to do, then you've got the ability, even just for a small section, to drop it down and make it a bit more slow sort of classic then. That's always a good thing to do. So this was a look at some of my After Effects files. And Overlord, I've talked about this before, I talk about it a lot. It's an awesome plugin for sending your vector data from Illustrator straight into After Effects, not having to export a certain version of your Illustrator file and then import it. You literally have After Effects open, you have Illustrator open, you click whatever piece of vector graphics that you want, and then you click a button, this push button in Overlord, and it just pastes it into After Effects as a native shape vector layer with the origin mode, the anchor position in the middle. It saves me so much time, because I always forget in animation, when you get everything designed nice, you're like, right, sweet, I'm going to get into animation, I'm going to make it move, and then you go, no, I need to spend 2 days getting it set up. I sort of really like that. There's a certain satisfaction in getting it right, prepping your files for animation how you need them to be. But if you can shorten, truncate that process and make it easier and snappier, I am all for it. So I really love the use of Overlord. I find it a really useful plugin if you are using Illustrator and After Effects. And then also early on, I actually tried a pixelation approach. I because it was mimicking RPGs and video games, I wanted to see what it would look like, sort of authentic-ish as pixels. And obviously the animations here is super smooth, a little too smooth for pixel art, but I kind of wanted to test. And I love, you can't see it there, Metal Slug is playing in the background. I love Metal Slug. I love that really neat, super smooth pixel art animation style. So I kind of wanted to see what this would look like, and I used an awesome tool called Pixel, and it's on cronbits.itch.io. It's a really useful tool. It's a little bit tricky to use at times, and it's a bit fiddly, but it's a great way to do to try some different effects to see how your pixel stuff would work. I even ran my own show reel through it using a Game Boy color palette, and I love it. It's totally useless and it's illegible, but it's dope. Who doesn't want things to look like it was ran through a Game Boy? So it's really fun doing things like that. Just sometimes using tools just to do a quick test. Is this going to work? Is this style going to work? I like it. It's not readable, but so it's always cool to try these things. So I really recommend Pixel. It's worth a go, worth a pop. That's my factory logo. Can't see it at all, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And so another big part of this animation was the frame smears. Again, from taking it from Hey Dougie, but also just classic Looney Tunes cartoons. Those frame smears, I just love it. It helps accentuate the squash and the stretch. It helps just give it a certain bit of energy, and so where possible I tried to add it to most things that were moving quickly. So and again, because I was using flat vector colors, it was cool to sort of over exaggerate these things. And so you can see the axe here at the top. When that spins, it becomes this kind of weird, bizarre shape, and then at the bottom, when you see all of these items sort of flash and come together, they've all got a bit of this motion smear stretch. You can use the Echo plugin, the After Effects built-in plugin that does a similar job, but it can be quite CPU or GPU intensive, CPU intensive. So I think I was just looking for a tool that would help me do it, and it was Cartoon Modeler by Plugin Everything. I really like it. For me, it really works good on the works good. It works good on the arrow here, and you can change the sample rate as well, so you can make it nice and achievable, accessible, easily renderable. Phoenix Studios in the chat says Echo takes ages to render. Yeah, it does. And After Effects at the best of time is a memory hog. Another tip, somewhat, I was doing a bit of a stream last night, and if you use After Effects, always remember to go edit. I think edit, purge, and purge all your file caches, because it has a nasty habit of caching up to 100 gig of space on your hard drive with just cache data. And you can delete it all the time, and you won't notice a difference. You will notice a difference for freeing up space on your computer, of course. But yeah, After Effects can be a bit of a cache hog. So always remember to purge. Do the purge. So yeah, so things like Cartoon Mode Blur, you know, just finding better, quicker, smoother ways of rendering the blur. I mean, it's still got chuggy, still got really chuggy. This project, especially its resolution, was really starting to hurt, and it was on this MacBook Pro that is 5 years old. So, you know, it started to chug. And then one of my favorite elements was the manga stuff. So I got all the animation. I would wait until I'd sort of animated a scene before I would go onto the manga glints, and these were just pure fun to do, and all of these were just done by hand, frame by frame. I would just on my Illustrator artboard, I would make these really technical looking bits and just paste them in. So this is how my document would look, basically, and you can see here all the different points. I would just go to town, add rings and lines and circles, and I would use triangles, and then use the rounded curve tool in Illustrator to curve off edges. And then when I was happy, I would use Pathfinder to merge all the paths, and then go into each individual path as I saw fit, and then curve off the edges to make it smooth and nice and organic. And then when in After Effects, I would then drop. I would use a Deep Glow plugin, which is an external plugin that you can find on AE Scripts. Again, it just does a better job of the built-in After Effects plugin. It's quicker, it's faster. You can drop the sample rate again to help you work quicker. And so everything else in the film was flat, apart from the manga glows. Everything sort of moved really quickly. So I would sort of start like that. You know, you can see the lines here that I would sort of choose, and then I would flatten them, and then sort of smooth things together to make it you know, just look as good as possible. And it was tech, you know. I think everything that had a sort of a glossy surface on it, most of these items and elements within the animation had like a glint or a rune or something metallic on them that I basically wanted to bring to life with a sheen and a shing wing ding, all of that stuff. So it was a real, and you can see here in the layers on the right, glint 1, glint 2, glint 3, glint 4. You know, there was layers and layers and layers all built on the top of each other. So it took a while, but I'm really happy. Hopefully it gives it that energy and that polish and that shine and that oomph, you know. So then, you know, once the animation was coming to a close, I worked with Thomas Williams, the awesome sound designer in Bristol, and it was great. This was a passion project that I was doing in my own time, but as always, I had the support of Aardman, which is where I'm a director and a designer by day. And on lunchtimes, Thomas would come in and we'd just do a little check. I would export the latest with my animation or the animatic stage. He would send a version with his music and the sound design, and we would go to the cinema that we are fortunate to have within Aardman. And we would just do a test. We would sit in different positions to sort of hear it, and we just make notes together to decide how things were gonna go forward. And the sound design is everything. So please do go and follow Thomas Williams. Do you know what? Whilst we're chatting, I am going to find his details on the internet and send them to you. Thomas Williams Sound. He's an awesome guy. Does lots of really cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Copy. Let's paste it in chat. and he smashed it out of the park. Thomas was awesome, and he just went to town in, you know, sort of 80s, 90s RPG, manga, anime, cartoon stuff. Really went to town. And you know, just to finish up, it was a beast of a project, and it really pushed me towards the end. I had a young son by the end of this. In the photo on the right, you can see that on the way to the airport, I was working in After Effects, desperately trying to get everything wrapped up and done. And what you can't see, I'm sitting in the back because my son in his baby car seat is sitting in the front. So you know, it was early mornings before work, it was late nights after work, trying to fit it all in. But I'm so glad, and you know, your lovely response here means so much as well, that hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you were there, you know, hopefully it just gave you a great energy and a great, you know, hopefully it was a complimentary part to the festival. You know, again, kicking it off, wanting it to people to feel stoked to be there. But like all things, you know, it's always totally worth it. And even the kind souls at FITC knew that I was going to be working until the wee hours to get this bad boy done. And so in the speaker lounge, they reserved me one of the sofas and a blanket for me to once I'd finished, once we got there, we'd done the tech check, once it had aired, because I did a talk. I think I was the first on as well, so I had a talk that I did after showing the titles, I think. I mean, Matt, I think you might remember better than me. Yeah, so I was sort of just wired. I was so wired in the build up to all of this to get things done and ready for it. And then this talk itself I gave as a B-side talk as well. So this thing that you see here, I then did a second talk. So I think maybe once I'd finished the titles, we'd done the test. Obviously, I was exhausted because we had a newborn baby. Then shown them in the morning, done my talk, did the B-side talk. I think that was when I had a little lie down. So it meant a lot. It meant so much, and you know, it is one of my absolute favorite projects to have done, and I you know, if people can still enjoy it now, then that is everything. So it was a real special experience. So that is the tale of the FITC titles. I hope you enjoyed that. If anyone has any questions, please do shout in the chat. It's always nice to hear if I didn't cover anything. But yeah, it was great. That was the second title sequence I had the honour of doing. I'd love to do more. They're bonkers fun to do. Phoenix Studios, very kind words. Says that it was his favourite piece. Oh, thank you, man. I'm really glad that you like that. And Wicked Skinny, thank you. And again, a huge shout out to, got to give a shout out to Wicked Skinny and Modaru. They gifted 10 subscriptions between them last night. That was awesome. But before everyone logs off, I have a giveaway. I forgot to do it last night. I have a download code, a free download code for The Last of Us Part 2 on PlayStation, kindly hooked up to a good friend of mine. So let's do it right now. If anyone would like to enter the raffle to get a free download of The Last of Us Part 2, if you type !raffle in the chat, you will become eligible. So if you do that right now, I will get the raffle going. So it's !raffle. There we go. Tour de Fraz has done it right. Massive thanks to my friend for doing that. So yeah, I'll let you lovely lot just post in the chat, and I will do a little raffle little thing in a second. Catching up on the chat. Oh, thank you so much for tuning in. So yes, a massive thank you to Modaru and Wicked Skinny for gifting those subscriptions. Your subscriptions and you coming in to watch it makes such a difference. Yeah, you know, it's this connection, this community. I was watching another stream the other day. They were talking about connection and community, and having people here, having the chat is awesome. So thank you so much. That Seeker says your titles are the bomb. Oh, 8th Tiger, thank you for the follow. Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you very much. Your titles are the bomb. I still have my little off dude here on my desk. Yes, I will be doing a deep dive into the off 2016 titles. That was the first title sequence I had the pleasure of co-directing with my good friend Merlin Crossingham. So I've got a deep dive into those as well. They were something totally different. totally different to this. That was bonkers. This was bonkers. So yeah, so I want to do more deep dives, and that's kind of what I want to do this stream. I want, you know, one of the afternoons I want a bit of a deep dive into a creative project, and another one of the afternoons I want to do a sort of hopefully inspiration thing, share stuff that I love, that inspires me, that makes me happy. So I want to do more of that. And then in the evenings and the Wednesday nights, as I've been working here in the den, I've just started sharing and streaming. So it's very much a low stakes, mellow thing. But we've been doing that and had a great community as well. We had a great stream last night. So big thank you to you guys. And again, big thank you to Modaru and to Wicked Skinny for kindly gifting subscriptions. That means a lot. So just catching up on some questions before we do the raffle. Matt asking P says, next time you're in Toronto, we'll have to arrange another draw by night art battle. Yes, so FITC do these great art battles in collaboration with a local creative community, and I took part in this, and I was so bad. It's basically 8 canvases, and everyone signs up, and people rate you. And I'm crap at painting and crap at drawing, and I just painted some really big stupid characters, I think, if I remember rightly, like really big stupid faces. And there were some awesome artists doing these incredible drawings and paintings and making these beautiful pieces of art. And I think you've only got, 10-15 minutes or something? I was so bad. But it was great fun. Again, it's all about community and connection. And, you know, it's the first time I've been in Toronto. I think the pub as well. The pub was called the Bristol, which was amazing. You know, all the way from Bristol, in the Bristol pub. So that was awesome. So yeah, thanks, Matt. Let's do that. If I ever make it out to Toronto again, let's do that for sure. That Seeker says, do you have an idea what you want to explore for your next titles? That's a really good question. I think it really depends on really kind of what the brief is, or if a technique. I love trying techniques. So this was, you know, I wanted to do this all on my own because I did the first off titles that were a big collaboration effort with, you know, stop frame, motion graphics, live action. I wanted this to be totally me, apart from the sound. Obviously Thomas Williams did the sound. I felt like I wanted this to be a personal expression of everything, you know, just as you do, you know, you chop and change depending on what you worked on last. So it really is, if I got the opportunity to make some more titles, what am I excited on at the time? Is there a technique I want to use? I try and do most passion projects to sort of try and push me to use a new technology or a new technique or something like that. So who knows what's around the corner. Wicked Skinny asks, whatever happened to the big droplet you made for your show years back? So I have these toys, and I'm going to do a stream about these tiny little 2.5-inch toys called droplets that I made 2 series of many years ago. But I also have a 4-foot tall version of this that is a huge, big, beautiful, glossy thing that was made by an awesome a guy called Hyatt, who works for a company called Sign Lane, a huge model making shop. That massive droplet is in the atrium of Aardman. It was too big. It was too big to fit in my house when we moved, so we I asked if it was a big character, could it live at Aardman, and it's lived there for the last few years. So when you enter Aardman, fortunately you've got Grommets, you've got Wallaces, you've got Shawns, and then you've got a big old droplet just around the corner. So I'm very honoured that he could live there along with those legends of character design. But I'm going to do a stream about droplets as well at some point, just talk about the story of how these vinyl toys came about, because it was just a dream. Phoenix Studio says, what's your favourite anime, Gav? Akira. I think it's my favourite piece of media ever created. I am just blown away by the style, the look, the animation, the story, the music, the sound design. Every single thing of that film is incredible. It is so ahead of its time for something made in the 80s. It pushed all sorts of boundaries. I still don't understand what it's about, and I love that. So yeah, I don't know a ton of anime. I know what I visually like, but to be honest, I think I watched Akira and went, well, I don't need to ever watch anything ever again, because it's the greatest thing ever. So yeah, but if you do have any recommendations for anime or manga, please let me know. Nothing grisly or violent. I mean, Akira's violent, but nothing gross, I guess. I'm a sensitive flower, so nothing scary. Nothing scary. Catching up on the chat. I think we're good. I think let's go and do the giveaway. So if anyone else is wants to get in, just do !raffle. Where are we? No, we want Night Labs. Raffle. So this is for The Last of Us Part 2. Giveaways. Everyone. Keyword. Let's do it. Roll it. Oh, I didn't do it. You got to do it again. Sorry, I didn't realise I had to activate it first. So if you want to go exclamation mark raffle again. Sorry. Total Twitch noob. What a nana. What a nana. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, because I'm a moron. Thank you very much. Phoenix Studio says, I think most anime is violent somewhere. Saint Seiya is a good one. Proper 80s anime. Oh, that sounds great. Okay, I will check it out. I know there's Your Name. I need to watch that. I need to catch up on that. Of course, all of Studio Ghibli's creations are just stunning and mind-blowing. My boy is getting more into that as we discover more less terrifying ones to do to show him. He's only 3.5. We're working our way through that. Okay, any more for any more? Because I'm going to hit go if you want to raffle. Dead Leaves. Oh, good shout, Tour de France. Thank you very much. Dead Leaves is great. Character design is cool. I will check it out. Right, I'm going to roll it. We ready? Yay! Tour de France. Congratulations. Congratulations. You have won. If you drop me an email, Tour de France, drop me an email on gab@jam-factory.com. Then I can hook you up with a code. So that is me for today. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all of your time, giving up your lunch hours. I'll be streaming Tuesday and Thursday next week, and hopefully Wednesday evening. But then I have a week off because I'm going away on hollybobs. So yeah, please do tune in next Tuesday. Please do come and hang out in the Discord. The link to our Happy Place Discord is at the bottom of Twitch. Everyone is welcome to come and chat and hang out. Have an absolutely cracking weekend. Thank you again. Congratulations. Big thank you to the subscribers. Thank you. Everyone is wonderful. You're all wonderful. Stay awesome. Stay positive. Stay safe. Cheers, everyone. Bye.